Right, so as part of this video, what we're going to make is the game card, which is this part here. So the game card slots into the console, into this slot here. But all we're going to be making in this video is the game card. So to do that, you're going to need to open the work and drawing for the game card, which I've got here. So that's gamecard.pdf. So this gives us all the sizes in millimeters. And the three views: elevation, looking straight on, which is looking onto this face here. End elevation, looking onto the side view of the game card. And then the plan is looking downwards, so it's this surface here. Right, so to make this part, you're going to need to have Inventor open. And just like always, you're going to have to make sure that in the projects option here, you have your Nintendo Switch project selected. That way, when we create the game card and save it, it will save it as a part of the Nintendo Switch into this folder. So what I'm going to click on first is up here on the left, New. I'm going to make sure that I'm in Metric. If Metric doesn't show up, you would see that, so you would need to select EN/US. So if I click that arrow, that'll drop down this menu to give me Metric. When I select Metric, I then go over here to the right and choose Standard IPT, and that means we're creating a part which is in millimeters. So once I've selected that, I go Create. Right, so to start this piece or component, what we're going to do is go up here to Start 2D Sketch. So if I click on that, it's going to show me my three work planes. So I'm going to choose my XY plane, which is this one here. So move the cursor over it till it goes red and then click. Right, so if I go to my work and drawing for the game card, I can see that looking straight on, the full width from here to here, or the widest part from here to here, is 40 millimeters. Widest part. The longest part from the top to the bottom is 50 millimeters. So from the top surface to the bottom surface it's 50 millimeters. From the left surface to the right surface it's 40 millimeters. So to create that, back to Inventor, I'm going to use the rectangle tool to draw a rectangular profile. So I've created this profile. It's not the right size. To make it the right size, what I'm going to do first is go up here to Dimension, move over this top line until it goes red. So you'll see that as I move the cursor down, eventually the line will turn red. Click, and then move upwards and click. So at the moment it's 25.4. I'm going to change it to 40. So from the work and drawn, it is 40 wide. Right, 40 from there to there. So once I've typed 40 in as the dimension, I can click the wee green tick, and that's changed that length there to 40. So if I click the mouse wheel twice, that'll zoom out, so I could see that size from there to there is 40. So now I want to do the same from here to here, so the height of the rectangle, from the work and drawn, from here to here, or from here to here, it's 50 millimeters. So if I go back to Inventor, Dimension tool, move over this line until it turns red. Once it's turned red, click. Then I could move outwards to the right hand side and click. So at the moment it's 38.8. You might have a different size, but we'll want to change that to 50. Once I'm happy it's 50, little green tick, and that'll change it to 50 millimeters. To zoom out, to bring the whole profile onto the page, I'm going to click the mouse wheel twice, and that'll zoom out. So I can see I've got a rectangular profile which is 40 wide, 50 high. Next thing I'm going to do is finish the sketch. mouse wheel twice, click it again so that it zooms out. So the next thing I'm going to do is make the game card have a depth to it, or a thickness to it. So at the moment it's a 2D profile, but I want to make it a 3D component. So to do that, if I go to the work and drawn, I can see here on the plan view that it has a depth of 5mm. So that's the depth. That's from there to there, which is there to there. So if I go back to Inventor, I could use the extrude tool, which is up here. Click on that. And then down here at distance A, at the moment it's set to 10mm. I'm going to change that to 5. Once I've changed it to 5, I can click OK. And that's created me this 3D rectangular cube. So if I use here on the right hand side the orbit tool, if I click that, I could then use that to look at this object from different angles by rotating it around. If you want to get off your orbit tool, press escape, and that circular object that was on the screen disappears. And we're back to just this, the surfaces of the game card. So the next thing we want to do, if we go to our work and drawn, we could see that on the bottom surface, these two corners are rounded. This is what we'll call a fillet. And this is has a radius of 5mm. So it's a radius of 5mm on both corners. So to do that, if I go back to Inventor, back to Inventor, then up here, fillet. If I choose that, I can then click on this edge. So you'll see that when I move the cursor over it, it turns red. Click. And if I move over to this other corner, so I could use the orbit tool to spin this up so I could see these bottom corners, and then escape on the keyboard so that big circle goes away, and then that allows me to then click on this other edge here, so you can see that it goes red. So we need to make sure that that is the one that's red. Click, and then up here on the left, the radius is set to 2mm at the moment. We're going to change that to 5, which is what it was on the work and drawn. Radius 5. So back to Inventor. Radius is set to 5. I've chose both edges. I can now click OK. If I click on my orbit tool, spin it around, I can see that now these two bottom corners have had a fillet applied to them. Then escape to get rid of that. So if I go back to the work and drawn, you can see that there's another rectangle on the elevation here, and that's cut into the surface, or it's subtracted from the surface at a depth of 1mm. So if you look at the drawing up here on the right hand side, you can see it's like a cut into the surface, so it's material that's been subtracted into the surface of the game card by 1mm. So to do that, we could see here that it's spaced from the edges. So from this edge inwards, it's spaced 2mm in, and from this edge inwards, it's spaced 2mm in. And then we'll have a rectangle which is 36mm wide and 40mm in height. So if I go back to Inventor, I'm going to go up here to Start 2D Sketch. But this time I'm going to have to choose this surface. So you can see that if I was to move the cursor around, each surface is separate. But I want the front surface, elevation surface, that one. Not the plan, not the end elevation, but the elevation surface. So if I click on that, it's going to put that front on. I'm going to double click the mouse wheel twice. It's just going to bring it full screen, zoomed in. Up here, I'm going to choose the rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle inside the game card. Now at the moment it doesn't matter if it's the right size, I'm just going to draw it and make sure it's inside. Now what I need to do is get it the right sizes. So to do that, I'm going to use the dimension tool, and I want to dimension it from this edge to there. If we go to the work and drawn, we could see that from this edge to that edge is 2 millimeters. So back to Inventor. Now I'm going to click on that edge. Now you can see that the line turns red when I get the mouse over it. So I'm going to click, and then I'm going to go across to this other edge until that goes red and click again. And then you can see that Inventor is allowing me to see the size of the gap between the two lines. So if I click, I can see that it's 2.66 millimeters, and I want to change that to 2 millimeters, and then click the little green tick when I'm happy. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing to this side. So I'm going to use the dimension tool. I'm going to dimension from there to there. When the lines turn red, I click, and then I click to the side and change that to 2 millimeters. Same as last time. Back to the work and drawn, and you can see as well that from the top line to this second line, it's 2 millimeters as well. So back to Inventor, using the dimension tool. If I click the top line when it turns red, and then this line when it turns red, I can then tell Inventor what I want this gap to be. So at the moment it's set as 2.2, I want it to be 2. So once I'm happy that the 3 sizes are correct, only one left from the work and drawn is from this line here to this line here. It has to be 40 millimeters. So back in Inventor, using the dimension tool again, I'm clicking on this line when it goes red, the inside line, down to this bottom line when it turns red, click again. If I move that to the side and click, at the moment the gap from there to there is 38 millimeters. I want to change that to 40. And then I'm going to click on the little green tick when I'm happy. If I click the mouse wheel twice, that'll zoom out. So I've drew a profile, a rectangular profile, on the surface of the game card. So if I click Finish Sketch, that's what I've drew, that rectangular shape. So the next thing I want to do is subtract into the game card 1 millimeter. Now to do that, I'm going to choose the Extrude command. And I'm going to change the direction. So at the moment it's extruding off of the face of the game card, but I want to change the direction inwards. So if I change the direction inwards, and then I'm going to change distance A to 1 millimeter, which I've taken from the work and drawn. So we can see that the distance inwards from there to there is 1 millimeter. Back to Inventor, distance A 1 millimeter, and then if I click OK, that has subtracted material off of the screen by 1 millimeter. So if I use the orbit tool, you're able to look into the object and see that that has what's happened. It's cut into the game card and created this subtraction from it. Last thing to do is add some material to this. So if I go up here, I've got my materials library. So I'm just going to apply if I go down here to smooth black. So from that option there, you can scroll down. It's in alphabetical order, so you're scrolling down to the S's defined smooth black. Now you'll see on the game card it has the Nintendo Switch logo. What we're going to do is we're going to do that in another video. So for this video, we have created the game card. So the last thing to do now is go File, Save As, and we're going to save that into our Nintendo Switch folder as Game Card. Save. And that's the end of that video.